Greetings, listeners! This is December of 2019, and welcome to the Underground Book Club.
Welcome!
Where we discuss self-published books that we uncover in the depths of the internet. And now, let's review our crud of the crop and tear apart what we uncovered one last time. For the end of the year, UBC Extravaganza!
2019!
I'll add in some sound effects and stuff for that. Where we reflect on the books we've read over the last 12 months. Or in this case, 6 months, because we began in June 22nd.
Oh, right. Well, we're hosting the Underground Awards show where we hand out awards, not literally, to every major work of fiction that we've covered.
No, I'm having awards made for these authors.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I thought we were just handing out nods. Like,
yeah,
here's a nod to you.
Yeah, I made actual trophies.
The achievements will poke fun at these works, but we want to remind all listeners and authors that this is a non-toxic show that demonstrates just how agonizing the book writing process can be.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Agonizing. Agonizing is one word for it. I mean, it's a hard walk for anybody who chooses to walk it.
You know, and at the end of the day, all these books that we're going to be looking at, no matter what, the author who wrote them decided to stick with it, keep going, and publish it online. So these authors, no matter what, are cool in our books.
Authors in general should be applauded for their sheer dedication and bravery for submitting their work online in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
To where it can be subjected to poking fun by people like us.
Of course.
Our criticisms are always constructive or meant to help authors continuously improve, and that includes us.
Yeah.
With that in mind, don't think of these as the Oscars. Think of these more like the Razzies?
Yeah, Razzies. Yeah.
All right, Jake, this was your idea. What are we doing here?
All of the books that we've covered will be nominees, and they will all receive awards.
It's like a participation award.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I'm making those little trophies. They're going to look very nice. But at the very end we're going to talk about all the nominees. At the end of me talking about all the nominees, we'll hand out the big two: the UBC Greatest Potential Award and the UBC Best of the Worst Award. And by the way, what I mean by greatest potential is that we've actually looked at some books that are too good for us to discuss on the show. Like, they don't really warrant any kind of these are good to go.
Yep, pretty good to go. We've only stopped and talked about books that we feel like have problems in themselves, and then also problems that we all might share.
Sure.
And what we can do about it.
You can learn from these books, and we are actually going to be talking about what we've learned from all the books that we're going to
try that.
Absolutely.
All right, so then a few books we've mentioned on the show this year. For all of you, thousands of listeners who have been with us from the beginning,
thank you.
We're not going to discuss every single book we've mentioned, because some of them we couldn't actually get through. Some were too short to mention. Or they were actually cool enough that we really couldn't make any comments. So we're just going to highlight basically the ones that we spent a lot of time ragging on.
Yeah, exactly. Our favorites, honestly. Okay.
All right. So are we kicking this off?
Yeah, kicking this off. But actually, you know what? Before we kick anything off, I want to ask: do we have any news or anything that we want to cover real quick?
Really, we have been editing the last episode that we did, and
it sounds really good, by the way.
We're pretry caught up. Nothing much has happened since the last episode. The truth is, it's a really busy time of year for everybody, and Jake and we're just still trucking. We're still trucking along.
We've got a lot of stuff going on, yeah.
Oh my God, there's too much stuff. I can't stand it anymore.
No, it's okay. It's all right.
I gotta get out of this bunker.
Oh my God.
I'm good now. Good to go.
All right. Nominee number one. Our very first discovery out in the depths of the internet that jump-started our entire project. And oh, how fortunate we were to find such a masterpiece right off the bat.
The Tri-Rep by A.H. French. A simple farmer is chosen by an all-powerful alien race to become the Tri-Rep. whereupon he decides the fate of our entire world.
I'm so glad we found this book, because I figure if you know, we went out on the internet to try and find some stuff we can talk about, and it would have been a little disheartening if, like, we had spent like a month trying to find some fun thing to talk about, but no, instead, right off the bat,
straight out of the gate, as they say,
we found a masterpiece.
Plus, we also, I got to talk a little bit with the author through emails.
Yeah.
And he was, you know, he was very nice to answer some questions we had and everything. And he's put out a couple of more books in the series, which honestly, I would like to have a look at them and plan to.
Yes.
So the Tri-Rep was kind of we owe that insane story, sort of the basis and the groundwork for our show. Mr. French. Yeah. Mr. French doesn't know what he started.
Yeah, no, he helped inspire us, and really, that's what authors aspire to do, is inspire. You know, aspiring. Our awards for Tri-Rep are the Most Astonishing Plotline Award for a book that really leaves you guessing. Just as soon as you've uncovered a pattern, Tri-Rep blows audiences away with one incredible event after another.
And the Most Shocking Event Award for the poor employees and patrons of a casino whose greed was greatly exaggerated and, due to a petty miscommunication, was blown off the face of the earth.
Wow.
I don't think there was any miscommunication, honestly.
No, yeah, I guess. I was referring to the hotel staff, like, losing their reservation or something.
Oh, you know.
And also miscommunication with reality and the author.
What we're saying, I believe, is that I've never been more shocked by a book as I was by Tri-Rep.
And by the way, the event in question, just to make sure everyone understands, is how our lead Alanin had his reservation lost in a casino hotel in Las Vegas. So he decided to blow up the entire casino and everyone in it.
Yep, he did that.
This is our hero. This is our, like, savior.
This is the point in the book when you realize that whether the author intended it or not, his book becomes about a supervillain.
Absolute, like a Joker-esque maniac.
Oh my God.
But even the Joker, I don't think, has had a body count as high as that.
Hey, the Joker at least had a little restraint and some class.
Yeah, class, absolutely. What did we learn from the Tri-Rep?
I learned that even the most... Okay, so like if you read the first couple chapters of the Tri-Rep, you'd be like, this guy needs a lot more practice writing.
Yeah.
And you might stop there. But if you did, you would miss having your mind blown.
Oh my God.
It is incredibly crazy read.
And
we loved it.
Yeah, exactly. And what I learned was, sometimes you don't need to hear about someone's breakfast. Sometimes, because my goodness, you know, you hear a lot in fiction like, oh man, these people never seem to sit down or eat or use the bathroom. Well, in this book, we know every meal this guy has.
And he has a lot of them.
He has a lot of meals and a lot of drinks. So sometimes the opposite side of the spectrum is as baffling as the former, you know.
I think that's a very good point.
Oh yeah.
Like, and also, we don't really care how many times you take a sauna bath with your sex robot.
Chris, please
right.
read off nominee number 2.
Nominee number 2. The book that inspired revolutions around the world.
Insurrection by Philip R. Benge. A daring space rogue helps a princess flee from her own kingdom to avoid political turmoil and an arranged marriage. We read this book in one of the few times we can actually leave the bunker and did like a road trip. We read this in the car, and I nearly swerved off the road laughing so hard at this book. It was awesome. So basically, like Tri-Rep was a great kickstart, but it wasn't a diamond in the rough. When we read Insurrection, we realized, oh yeah, we can make a whole series about this.
The daring space rogue helps a princess flee. Sounds very classic sci-fi. Flash Gordon-y, Buck Rogers in Star Wars. all rolled into one.
Yeah.
They rarely get off the planet though, and
no, I like never get off the planet. Like that never happens.
So
the princess. In fact, I was a little impressed with the book, honestly, because at the end, I liked how the princess was just like, oh, forget it. I'll just go and marry the guy, all right?
Never mind.
Yeah.
Sort of like an episode of Three's Company where you're like, oh, it was all just a misunderstanding.
It's like if Leia was just like, okay, fine, take the damn plans. Jesus Christ.
Honestly, I'm too tired to go on. Just,
Our awards for Insurrection are the Most Considerations Award.
However
I couldn't believe how many times, like, not only was plans were formed in the book, but also every alteration of every plan and every other plan that they did not go with.
Yeah, it was really thoroughly thought through. Everybody's thought processes were just delineated and detailed. You don't need to know every thought that a character has.
Yeah. The second award that I gave it was the Most Entertaining Award. And I know Tri-Rep is probably overall like the most entertaining, but this had
It had hysterically funny lines.
There are so many great lines in this book, ranging from so many different subjects. You'll be wrought with laughter in more ways than you'd expect. I mean, it talks about things from banking and accounting to the consistency of ray guns.
It was often so funny that we were never 100% sure that it wasn't satire.
Yeah. Well, what did we learn from Insurrection? I learned exposition dumps at the very beginning of the book are never really a good idea.
I think it was telling us a whole lot about exactly how much detail
we didn't
is
need
too
to know.
much.
Yeah.
You want to give detail because we harangued the Tri-Rep for its lack of detail.
This is like way too much.
And then here you've got Insurrection that gives you so much detail that you almost want to fling it across the room.
Yeah.
This is an issue that comes up again and again in amateur writing. How much detail is the right amount of detail?
And we learned from Tri-Rep that you can have way too little, but then we learned in Insurrection that you can have too much, and on things that don't matter.
Well, it's not like we learned that. I think we knew that, and everybody knows that, but to see it in action...
Yeah, to see it in action, absolutely.
It gives you a stronger idea of, that's what it's like to give way more detail than you need to give.
Nominee number 3. We don't know much about the main series, but its prequel did not inspire much confidence.
Children of Legend, Templar, and Order and Chaos Extra by Kenneth R. Brooks. Before their real adventures begin, we see the humble origin of prodigal psychic children.
This book was very strange. Like, there's apparently a main series called Order and Chaos, and that has like a whole lot of main series involving many major characters, and that this extra is talking about those characters' childhood.
Yeah, it's like Muppet Babies
in the vaguest way possible.
And it basically just takes characters as they are, I'm assuming as adults, and has them talk exactly the same way, only they're children.
But it's like we don't learn anything about these characters.
Well, I didn't think so.
All we really see is that they have powers, but like we don't know anything about their personalities. We don't know anything about their major character traits or anything. Like this is if we saw a prequel about Legolas and how. Like we just saw Legolas attend like elf school or something.
Well, yeah, like here's a Legolas in archery practice, and here he is in elf school.
The end. There's nothing else about him at all. Like no character at all. Just archery and elf.
He like got together with Elrond, and Elrond was like, "You need to learn how to use archery."
Yeah, exactly.
And Legolas is like, "Okay."
Our awards for Children of Legend are the Scatterbrain... Sorry, let me just say that again.
Now that's mine, the Scatterbrain Award.
Go ahead.
The Scatterbrain Award for a book that isn't quite sure what it is about. And I say that because I think there was some pretty kinky stuff going on in this book that I'm not certain was intentional.
Yeah, seriously.
There were some relationship between like 14-year-old girls and 7-year-old boys.
7-year-old boys,
and,
it was very, very, very wrong-headed, but I gave it the Dirt Cup Award. Oh, I love the Dirt Cup Award. I hope next year I can give the Dirt Cup Award out to something else because, so the example I'll give for the book, it will be one thing, and then I'll define what the Dirt Cup Award actually is. A girl in this book spends hours upon hours just trying to get a drink of water. Matt Damon had an easier time getting a drink of water in The Martian. This girl, if you recall, is thirsty. She's in a basement. There's a ghost in her head that's telling her how to bring up clay and dirt from the ground, mold it and shape it for hours, smooth it out into a cup.
Not a square one.
Not a square one. It's got to be goddamn cup shaped. And then she has to use her powers, hours and hours, to lift water from the ground and filter it and then put it in the cup.
And all the while, if she'd just go upstairs, there's a kitchen, a functioning kitchen.
With a functioning kitchen. So the Dirt Cup Award is an award given to an event in a book or a scene where it's like, this could have been done so much easier. It's like the most overly complicated way to do the simplest thing.
It's a pretty funny scene.
I love the
honestly,
scene,
if you read it and you're not giggling crazily by the end, you've missed something.
Yeah.
So what have we learned from Children of Legend?
Templar and Order and Chaos Extra. I learned that prequels are always a bad idea.
And I learned that people's childhoods are dollars to donuts, not that interesting. Nominee number 4, the book most likely to be turned into a hit anime series.
The Orb Chronicles, The Winds of Change by Alex Robbins. 3 orphan youth struggling to live in the post-apocalyptic future are gifted with extraordinary abilities. Only together can they topple the world's irresponsible, corrupt dictatorship. This book had the lamest antagonists I've seen in a long time. I mean,
the villains were bad.
If you want a book or a story or anything where people fight with super abilities, your villains have gotta be interesting, because otherwise it's boring.
Well, this is why, though, we think that it would make such a great anime, because everything in it was so cartoonishly silly.
This guy, Alex Robbins, clearly had a vision for like a show or an anime or something.
Well, it sure feels like
even a game. I bet he thought of like a game cutscene story or something. He thought of that, and then because he realized he couldn't really get into movies or shows or anything, he decided to write a book about it because he had spent a long time thinking about it.
You know, we're not trying to tell the guy what his intentions were, but that's how it feels to us.
But that's not a bad thing either.
No, I mean, it's certainly not a bad thing.
By the end of my writing career, I'm probably going to be doing that like 5 times or so, at least.
He wrote everything like it was a scene you were watching from a movie. So the detail was all... There was a lot of stuff going on that you're like, okay, the author is very clearly seeing this in his head, but he is not conveying to us what he's seeing. So there were many scenes where things were happening and we didn't know where people were in relation to each other.
What the scenery was like, where anyone was.
It was...
Distance, movement, time.
It illustrated very much how important it is, and this is kind of skipping ahead to what we learned, how important it is if you're writing a scene of action, and I don't necessarily mean like a gunfight or something, a scene in which there is action happening. Maybe have other people read it and let you know if they understand exactly what's happening.
If they're confused, absolutely. Get other people to read it out loud for you. And if they have no idea what's going on, then you need to provide some detail.
He's not giving us enough information. There are things happening in his head picture that he's failing to write down.
Exactly.
And it's sort of like what we need to go along with this book is a storyboard. Like there needed to be an illustration or something.
Oh, I know. This could have been like a graphic novel.
A graphic novel. There we go. There are pictures happening.
Yeah.
And we're missing them.
We're missing exactly.
We're missing pictures.
Oh,
here.
you know what? No. This is like a Wikipedia summary of an action scene that happened in something else.
It did feel a little like that. But let's so we covered kind of what we learned from it, which is action scenes are hard.
Yeah.
Take note of what to do and what not to do.
And have guest readers and test readers read it and let your author know what the hell needs to be added to make any damn sense.
Well, you know what? Test readers are just going to be necessary for almost every aspect.
Absolutely anything.
There we go. So, I gave Orb Chronicles our award for Best Action Adventure that we've read. Comparatively. Our heroes go from city slums to the far corners of the earth. They travel all around the world. They meet pirates. They're forced into deadly games of cat and mouse. They hunt down criminals in Vegas. They discover a balloon muscle guy.
Yeah.
In all in the same book. And there is an extremely surprisingly well-written basketball game.
That is that should have been my award is you know what, okay, it gets 3 awards. It gets
best basketball game.
Best basketball game.
So all he really needs to do is take his ability to write basketball scenes and convert it to all action scenes.
Or in the future, characters only battle via basketball.
Which would also be a great anime.
That would be great. There's probably is an anime where they all just fight with basketballs and nothing else. The last award is the Most Complacent Female Award. Not even sex robots are as easy to please as, what was her name again?
I don't remember.
What the hell? Wait, no, hold on. What, there was...
Are you asking me seriously?
Yeah, what was her name?
I don't remember.
Courtney? No, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Her name was Liza?
Well, she was awful, no matter what.
Karen.
She wasn't awful. She was no note. She wasn't 1 note. She was 0 note.
It was really sexist. The book, I don't think it ever meant to be, but I don't know if a lot of people ever mean to be really sexist.
And she had the weirdest job I've ever heard of before with her.
Oh, yeah, she was the live lingerie model who was not allowed to move.
She was a live mannequin in a store window who couldn't move.
In post-apocalyptic America.
Like, what? Oh my god.
That was incredible.
Absolutely incredible.
By the way, I have a copy of the Orb Chronicles right here.
Oh, yeah, let's see
Just a moment.
See who this lady is.
Okay, Derek, Zach,
Bridget.
And Bridget.
Bridget, she's Bridget, okay.
All right.
Bridget wins the most complacent character
we keep
award.
Copies of all the books here in the bunker.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Nominee number 5. The book you're most likely to have heard of before.
Bloodless, Witch's Blood, Book 1, by Nia Yasmin. An amateur witch, amateur investigator, distracted by thoughts of her first ever real infatuation, is tasked with finding a missing girl before it's too late.
Like, I could tell the author was really trying to make it good, but the book was so short. It was really, really short. I almost didn't include it in this list because it almost wasn't a complete story. No, it wasn't a complete story. It was like...
It really was like the intro to another story.
The first half of a story. Because it's like... She does end up finding the missing girl, but it is too late. And then she's questioned about it, discovers she has a haunted atlas in her apartment, and then the book's over.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
And she's really clueless, too.
Oh, yeah, she's absolutely
for somebody
clueless.
who's supposed to be a high-level witch, she doesn't recognize magic when it is staring her in the face. All right, so...
I didn't learn anything about our main character. I didn't learn anything about...
we don't know.
Nothing.
And maybe what was going on was Nia Yasmin was relying on the fact that she'd written about this character in previous books.
So she was hoping you kind of were aware of this lady before you went into it.
It doesn't... I mean, that works. I do the same thing. Every time I write another Other Naturals book, I don't go and give you all the details about everybody all over again.
Yeah.
But there is also such a thing as telling us maybe a little bit about somebody.
Yeah.
All we know is that she's not a very good witch, and she's obsessed with...
And she's not a very good investigator, and she gets a crush on a guy, and that's about it.
Our awards for Witch's Blood. Mine was... Alright, Nia Yasmin gets the award for Best Online Presence. She's got a blog, she's got a website, she's got Facebook.
She posts her crap all over the place.
Marketing herself like a pro.
Yeah.
And her stuff looks really good.
You may have actually heard of this lady before.
Yeah. Her writing needs to catch up with her ability to promote herself.
I've heard decent things about her books that are just straight up romances.
Okay, well there you go.
Yeah.
So maybe she just needs to practice a little more on the supernatural stuff, and then the two will blend together very well.
Like yours do.
Oh, thank you, Jade.
And I gave it the It Was All a Dream or Was It award for a dream sequence. That the author absolutely loved, yet we absolutely didn't.
There were actually 2 dream sequences.
Well, I just defined it as one extremely long dream sequence that took up most of the book.
It was very, very long. So what I learned from Witch's Blood is that formatting matters. Okay, like formatting is a thing that you're like, everybody's got to have their own style, man. No. You have to make paragraphs. You have to.
Paragraphs.
If you all will recall, I bitched about this a lot. She didn't write paragraphs. She wrote sentence, and it is exhausting to read. It's really kind of a nightmare to read. And it makes every single sentence sound like it's way more important than it actually is.
Every single sentence is important, okay? Jeez.
All right, formatting matters. That was my lesson. Did you get anything?
What did I learn from this book? If a character, like a side character, is just not doing anything, just get rid of them. Like, there's just, in this book, it had like 8 little side characters, and I don't remember a single one of them.
It was like she had 2 girls she was helping out, and they both had a missing sister.
Yeah.
For different reasons, and it was really kind of confusing.
It was confusing, yeah. That just get rid of, just pare things down a little bit sometimes, especially when your extra characters.
Yeah, if it's repeating itself.
Anything, yeah.
Like, how much do you really need this character in the book?
Go right ahead.
Nominee number 6. Hey, this kind of resembles a real book.
Into the Other by Livian Gray. A woman has no choice but to accept a demonic deal. Avoid a dire prison sentence in exchange for her baby. 16 years later, the baby returns.
Our awards for Into the Other are the Time Warp Award for a 16-year-later time jump that changes absolutely nothing. But it felt to us as if every time something really interesting could happen, it failed to. It always kind of went the, whatever route. Like,
our main character is a mopey sad sob. Her boyfriend is super one note. Everyone else, like this... the magical baby, she's really kind of just like shackled onto everyone else. And then of course our main lead, after the 16-year later time jump, has a son, and he's real mopey too. So like everyone's mopey, and I don't really like anybody.
No, the characters are very difficult to relate to.
And it's a little too long, I'd say.
Oh yeah, it goes on.
It's way too long,
But here is the major problem.
Yeah.
And that's your award, I believe.
Ah, yes. And my award. The Worst Satan Award. Come on, Satan. You can do better than that.
Our villain in this, Rumpelstiltskin.
Yeah.
He's just
terrible. The lamest Satan.
He's got no motive. We don't understand why he wants this baby.
Or what the other is, why he's there.
Why he was kicked out of his tribe or whatever.
I'm a big fan of shady business deal devil guys. Like, I like the G-Man. I like overseer characters. But this guy, he was so lame. He's like, I, in your life, have served you well. I made sticks fall on some bullies, And I made it to where people forgot about a firework in a mailbox.
Now
you owe me your child.
It's terrible.
It's absolutely terrible.
And a great villain, a great villain can really add something to a book. It sort of by proxy creates great heroes.
Yeah.
Because you just automatically want somebody to defeat this guy or want him to be able to triumph, evilly over. It just helps everything.
Nominee number 7. A book so short it had no time to begin, as its many, many potential story threads fall apart before your eyes.
The Sigil of Saturn by Hannah Desmond and Tom Johansson. A young girl uses her newfound, disturbing mind-reading abilities to help her best friend find her long-lost mother.
That doesn't happen, but that's like the best...
Is that what that book was about?
No, that never happened. You would think that the plot would be, girl uses her mind-reading abilities, her best friend's looking for her long-lost mother. It's New Orleans. It's Mardi Gras. But that doesn't happen because she doesn't want to use her mind-reading abilities, and her best friend doesn't really care about finding her mother until it's like
she finds her mother like super easily, and then the only reason they're doing it is because, hey, by the way, my mom was a gypsy. So all gypsies have magic powers. She'll probably know how to cure your resting bitch face or whatever it was she had a problem with.
This book, it could have been really interesting at a lot of points, and it never was.
It just ended. Like, something would come up, spaceship visit, and then it's over, like, the next page, and it's just, then it's only, like, a detail, as in, I'm feeling really bad because of that whole spaceship thing that happened,
Oh, my God. I'm kind of imagining like a race car passing by really quickly. It's like, whoa, this is interesting. Oh, now it's gone. Oh, it's gone. Okay, never mind.
Goodbye, plot point.
But I will say, there was one aspect of the book that had an incredible storyline.
The best author bio. Yes, The Sigil of Saturn wins best author bio. The author bio is a more interesting storyline than any other book we've read.
It's seriously amazing. In fact, I will post it on the episode right now.
Ooh, this interesting people should write books. Oh, by the way, I should also mention that Sigil of Saturn sometimes is very well written.
Oh, yeah.
It rushes. It rushes too much. I wanted, basically, for them to slow down and tell us a story. This was
we also
absolutely riddled with story.
Yeah, but it was way too rushed. All of these books that we've looked at, we have main character issues. They all have poor main characters. And it sort of shows you that a good main character can really fix a lot of problems. It can
pull you through a lot of rough spots. I mean, if your audience wants to stay with a character, they'll follow them through even pretty crappy stuff.
Yeah.
All right, and your award?
I gave it the Moby Dick Award. If the white whale was, in this case, representative of a great plot, then the authors would be Ishmael? Is that the main character of Moby Dick?
What we learned from this book is, hey, sometimes you don't have to hurry so much.
Yeah. Rush, go. No. Like, we're not saying this book is too short. What we're saying, it rushes. It needed to find a plot and tell the plot as well as it could. Instead, it introduces like 4 plots and does nothing with either of them. With any of them. So
it's puzzling. It's very puzzling.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then it has some extremely things you could make an entire movie about that happen in like 4 lines. Let's find my mother, my long lost mother in New Orleans, and then like 2 paragraphs later, found her.
They looked her up in
the phone book.
Like,
wait, what?
God.
No, you didn't.
Jesus.
You did not.
The Terminator had a harder time finding Sarah Connor.
Yeah. That was hard. Ugh. It was hard on all the Sarah Connors that day.
Yeah, seriously.
All right, are we on to nominee number 8? We've seen Nazi fidget spinners and implied underage psychic fornication, but nothing could have prepared us for
Revenge, the Next, Book 1 by Mike Miracle. Okay. Let me try and summarize the plot of the book.
Oh, God.
Okay, no, wait, I've got it. Okay. 2 guys die. They're both given a choice on how to move on in the afterlife, and everything goes very awry for both of them, and for us. Its first act is weird, but I loved its... Like, the actual revenge of this book, I really liked a lot at the very beginning with the snow in front of his house. I thought, yes, this is going to be awesome. And then as soon as they both die, the book falls apart completely. It just stops. I've never had a book hit a brick wall so hard before in my life.
Okay. Shall I give my award first?
Because this will kind of tie into what we're talking about. Go ahead.
All right, the Least Finished Thing Award. I maintain that this was a rough draft. A rough draft that never got edited.
To me...
Except for spelling.
Yeah.
It was all spelled right.
To me, this almost seemed like an elaborate character outline. Seriously, like one guy wants to get revenge on another. They both die. They go to the afterlife. Then, through a Freaky Friday mishap, they both switch bodies. Someone's dentist's wife was cheating on another guy. A car hit a dentist's wife.
I don't think that's even what the order that things happened in, though.
But was it though?
No, it wasn't. Whoa. It was. This is a rough draft.
Yeah. No,
that was all out of order.
I read it. I think I read the whole thing.
Yeah, we did.
We read the whole thing.
We read the whole thing, and it still doesn't make sense. So my award to you, Mr. Miracle, is the least finished book. Jake, what is your award?
The I Am Absolutely Lost award for knowing exactly where the plot is going, yet I have no idea where we are or how we got here. I was reading the book. I mean, I was with you, sentence by sentence, and I got lost. I completely I no longer know. As soon as they started having the gun point off with the guy, the friend, you know, like I did not know what the book was about.
Oh hell, I don't even know what you're talking about right now. Here's the thing that we learned from, what was this again? Oh, Revenge. You have got to think about the rules you create in your universe.
Yes, you've got to think about the rules.
Mr. Miracle tried, and I have no problem with this. I think it's a great idea. He tried to create an interesting mythology for the afterlife. He came up with a couple of rules and said, that's great, we're going with it. And from then on, all you can do is poke holes in the rules. They absolutely don't make sense.
They make no sense.
Nothing about it makes sense. And then he spends a whole lot of the book trying to undo his own damage.
I would actually just recommend, if you want to know more, watch the episode where we talk about this, because the actual rules themselves, the scenario we're talking about is so weird and confusing that going into it now, it would take up the whole rest of the episode. So let's not even bother with that.
Jake, did you learn anything from Revenge?
Always read your own work. Like, when you finish your work, step back from it, and after a month or so, go back and see, like, oh, well, I could do this better, you know, and show it to other people. But definitely, you yourself need to step away from it and do it again.
I agree with that, and I'm wondering if maybe I'll throw a bone here to Mike Miracle. And I keep saying he didn't finish the book. And what I wonder is, maybe what happened is, and didn't we talk about this? He wrote basically a book, a rough draft of a book, and was so excited about it, he's like, slam, publish it right now.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, okay, now let's dial back that excitement a little bit and give ourselves a minute to calm down.
Let's see how best to tell this story.
And see, I mean, just because you get it down on paper does not mean it's ready to go.
Oh my god, we did not even mention the characters we meet in the next, like the librarian and
characters.
The guy.
The book is a mess, and I don't think that's because it's not. I think it's because it's a rough draft, and it needed at least 3 more go-throughs.
I had an easier time following Tricolored Cats, and that book was translated from Russian. Nominee number 9. If you don't know anything about your main character, just introduce new ones.
Duplicity, Book 1, A Desperate Rescue, by Peggy Lee Baker. Her friend has been kidnapped, and everyone in a small town is a suspect. One lone city girl wants to flee for her life, yet she doesn't want to leave her friend behind.
A girl in a small town has to unravel a mystery, and she meets a handsome man, and there's conspiracies all around, and it's so fraught with adventure. But then that part of the book just kind of stops, and this main character that we followed, who we don't know a damn thing about, but at least I thought her dim-witted blondiness was kind of funny. She wasn't blonde, but she acted like a blonde.
Yeah, okay.
But then her whole story just stops. Like, our author seemed to hate the main character so much that the author was almost, desperate to rescue herself from the book and introduce new characters.
And there was not really, I'm not saying the characters that she came in with, which were 3 young deputies who decide to do the right thing instead of follow the corrupt sheriff. That's not a bad story idea either. I'm just not sure what it's doing dropping into the middle of this story.
This book is like, you're sitting down to read the story about this lady, and then all of a sudden these other characters just spring up out of nowhere.
This book is falling into a genre at first called the romantic thriller.
Yeah.
And she had her characters. She had, of course, now I can't remember their names. Greg and Greg Janes is the guy, and the woman is Janet.
Interplanetary Janet.
Interplanet Janet. Janet and Greg are given nothing to do.
And no characters.
You wouldn't think that was possible if they're trying to find her missing friend Sally, but all they do seriously is hide, and then hide some more, and then hide some more, and then hide some more, and bicker.
And then as soon as they're almost done hiding, boom, it switches to new characters.
Janet is an incredibly stupid girl. And Greg is an incredibly bad secret undercover agent.
Absolutely.
And I think I just did a spoiler there, only no I didn't.
Yeah,
you
but
knew he was an agent the whole time. You knew it.
You didn't even know what we were talking about, and you knew he was the secret undercover agent.
Well, all right then. Our first award is congratulations, Duplicity, for winning the Changing Horses in Midstream Award. Introducing the new My Protagonist. Don't like the protagonist your book started with? Well, with My Protagonist, you can order 3 completely new ones. 1 chapter shipping.
You like it's like My Pillow, but My Protagonist.
My Protagonist. My Protagonist.
And then I gave it the Faulty Firework Award for a setup that implies a steamy, sexy romance for our male and female leads. But it turns out they're involved strictly a professional working relationship, and they'd appreciate it if you didn't start any rumors, or else they'll have to talk to HR.
Oh God, it did feel like that. Although I think, having read the synopsis of book 2 in the series, that Greg will be returning to Janet's life, and then I'm sure that the fireworks will be relit.
They'll get new fireworks, basically,
or something like that.
The fuse will be replaced. There we go.
Okay, yeah, maybe so. In as much as it ever was, Jake said this was like the implication of a steamy, sexy romance. Well, it really wasn't.
It totally was. If you're reading a book in this day and age, and it has our young lady heroine meet up with this burly professional military dude who's going to help and save her, you'd think they would hook up at the end.
Yes. So the genre would imply that's going to happen, but what I'm saying is these two had no chemistry.
Oh no, none. But that doesn't stop any other book.
Well, true enough. Yeah, you're not alone, Peggy Lee. I mean, there's plenty of professional books by people who've made millions of dollars, and they're no better. So.
Like at the end of this, the two of them are just like, oh, that person really was weird. Well, I better get back to my life without them and all, and don't care about them whatsoever.
When I was going through my ordeal with the publishing company, the so-called editor told me, she said, you can't end a book like this, in this genre, you can't end it with the implication that the two leads aren't going to get together.
Yeah, really.
She says you have to at least imply strongly that they will be reunited somehow.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you're like, well, no, it's my book. I don't have to do anything.
But come on.
They're just saying, like, if you want to make a book that's going to actually appeal to your readers,
people, yeah.
It kind of needs to happen.
But then a lot of other people would say, like, oh, well, I'm glad that a couple didn't get together. That's more realistic. But if you're reading a book that's like this, you go in it hoping for a relationship.
That's what you'd read this for.
Come on.
And nobody's going to be reading this for, like, high literature.
A realistic relationship? No, there's no way.
What did we learn from A Desperate Rescue? Duplicity.
I learned no matter how poor your main character is, you can't just swap her out with a new one. You gotta keep going with your lady.
Well,
or man.
Make it a better character. Give him something to do.
But I'm just saying, yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't say I learned this, but it affirmed to me that your characters need to make rational decisions and actions.
Yeah.
If your characters are doing things and you find yourself having to spend a page and a half trying to explain the weirdness of their decision, maybe your characters are not doing what they should be doing.
If you have to justify their decisions, maybe just have them make different decisions.
I mean, there was really a lot of time spent in this book trying to shoehorn Janet into a situation that honestly there was no need for it.
Yeah,
In this particular instance, so as not to be confusing, she was trying very hard to get Janet to a small town, and the reasons why Janet ended up there are stupid. They're outright stupid.
The author could have...
And that's just part...
Yeah.
That's like the first 5 pages.
Yeah. The author could have saved herself a lot of trouble by giving us a more realistic reasoning that could have actually helped the story out.
Now it's time for the big 2. Number 1. Of these authors, which one wins our 2019 Most Potential Award?
Woo! Most Potential for the author.
The honorable mention, my choice, goes to Alex Robbins, the author of The Orb Chronicles, The Winds of Change.
I would have not have given this to Alex Robbins. Why do you think?
I give it to him because although everybody gets a participation award, and practice makes perfect for every writer, I think Alex Robbins I think he thinks big. I think he's got some creativity. I thought The Winds of Change of The Orb Chronicles was just a little bit of maturity and sophistication away from being potentially a very interesting series.
And fun series. Like a fun young adult novel series.
Yes, or a fun anime series.
Yeah, exactly. So
I feel like on many levels there is potential there. It's just, it needs a little bit of...
It needs tonal work. It needs reworking. But you're right. So you're right. He has potential to be very, very good.
I'm giving him my honorable mention. But you are presenting the 2019...
Actually, I want to give my honorable mention.
Oh, okay.
My honorable mention is Hannah Desmond and Tom Johansson.
Well, okay.
Because I'd say if that writing duo can pick a plot and actually tell a story... that story would probably be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with
Less
that too.
metaphysical dream stuff with Wicker Man, whatever. More like 2 best friends in New Orleans trying to...
Yeah, go through all those millions of plots you have in your head. Find the one that's like a real, all the way through to the end novel and go for it. It doesn't have to be about the Wiccan coven or whatever, all right?
On top of that, every one of these authors we've mentioned gets a potential participation trophy just for committing to your writing. They have practiced.
Yay.
They have actually sat down and practiced. And practice refines almost every writer, unless you're Oni-san.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So he's the exception.
His writing has actually gotten worse as time goes on, but he's the only exception.
Okay.
Usually people's work gets better. Oh, and I imagine like Stephen King every now and again still has a dud, but
no, he doesn't.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. Never mind. To the 2019 Most Potential Award is Livian Gray.
Yay, Livian
Gray!
Woo!
With some work, practice, and a good old stick-with-it attitude, you have the most potential to be one of the greats. You reminded us of some of our favorite authors. You've got a great handle on the structure of a real American classic.
You're almost there, Livian. Don't give up. Livian, as you all recall, is the author of Into the Other, and Okay, I think a real American classic may be stretching.
No, I think it has the structure of one. It has
the structure of
an American classic.
All right, so what you're saying is she understands basically how a book should go.
I mean, this is like a mom reuniting with her child.
Yes, all right. Okay,
and
yes.
this child has been in this magic world, and they have to, against the odds, beat the devil. I mean, that's some classic shit right
And really,
there.
the only thing Livy and I would ever tell her to do is look at your book and try and figure out why is the least interesting thing always happening. You need to see like what the options are and like, yeah, but what would be more interesting than blah? Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what would be almost anything.
Absolutely, anything.
I think maybe Miss Livy Gray was holding herself back a little bit. Like, well, I don't want to make it too weird. You can never get inside somebody else's head. But
absolutely.
She does have a lot of potential.
Tons of potential.
Everybody has potential.
Everyone has potential. But Livy Gray is the one we were like, oh yeah, if she gets better, she can absolutely probably write one hell of a classic.
By
the way, I just want to say real quick, I did say like, you know, has the foundations of an American classic. I realize she is English and British, you know, whatnot.
Whoops.
Yeah, I realize that. I'm just saying it reminded me of an American classic. I don't know what it's called over there. A good British classic, or a good English novel, a real novel. Well,
that's a whole can of worms because I believe the British would say their classics are way more classic than our classics.
Well, they can just go clean a chimney, is what I gotta say.
Oh! Blimey. All right.
Now, for our 2019 Best of the Worst Award. And by that, I really just mean Worst of the Worst. So did we have any honorable mentions for Worst of the Worst?
Well, most of the books we talked about, we wouldn't have talked about them if they were in great shape. The Tri-Rep badly needed editing.
Yeah.
It needed editing so badly. The thing that saved it was that it was, as I said, astonishing. And I'm not using that word blithely either. I mean,
it's very astonishing.
When I read some parts of that book, I had to stop and read it again to make sure I understood what I had just read. I was like, he did what now? All right,
Whoa. My honorable mention is Insurrection by Philip R. Benj because it had the most mind-numbing sections ever, but it also had some of the most entertaining sections of the whole book.
Yep, there was a lot of funny in that book.
It was like, it's seriously like, what are you doing? But please don't stop. But our real Worst of the Worst award has to be Revenge, the next book one by Mike Miracle. Whatever this thing is, please let's hope we never find anything like it ever again.
Oh, my lord. It just isn't done.
Barely a book enough for us to continue with.
Honestly, it was barely a book. I feel like you're in a restaurant and they bring you your steak and you cut it open and it's like...
Locusts come out.
You're like, no, take this back. This isn't done. I want a locust-free steak.
Yeah, please,
now.
And also clean up these locusts, please. I'm getting stung to death.
Could you please?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Locusts. All right. Did you, Chris, wish to say a few words on the one book that I really didn't get very far in, but you certainly did? Bitches and Race Cars?
Bitches and Race Cars. Okay, that was our fun name for Beyond Seduction, Deceit, Betrayal by
Amy Lee?
Kixie Reiki.
Kixie Reiki, that's right. Where's that? Amy Lee. Who am I thinking of?
I don't have a clue.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind.
I don't know.
All right,
It's a mystery. Audience,
Kixie Reiki.
Audience, if you can figure out who Jake was talking about, please email us at, what is it, chrisandjakeubc.com?
At Gmail.
At gmail.com.
chrisandjakeubc.
chrisandjakeubc@gmail.com. All right.
Talk to us a bit about BSDB.
Well, I feel like it's sort of anticlimactic now because we're done. We've given out our awards. I'm only going to mention Bitches and Race Cars because this was the one that we just couldn't read. It was unreadable.
Yeah.
It was a headache from start to finish.
But you read quite a bit of it.
I skipped through and read parts and... we need to put a leash on her. That's all. If Kixie Reiki would just put a leash on herself, she's got a lot of potential as a writer, but her book, it's overly wordy. It's often offensive.
I don't like using the word pretentious, but that's kind of what I got from
it really opening. Is. It just had some very unpleasant things in it, and you're like, well, geez, Chris, a lot of books have unpleasant things in them, but now there's a difference. You know, I mean, unpleasant things happen, but you don't have to revel in them. This was exploitation,
rapey
kind of
lesbian,
and please understand, it's not because it was lesbian.
Right.
That is not my issue, and that's going to be the sticking point where people are like, well, you had a problem because it was about lesbians. No, I don't.
Look, my boss is a lesbian, and I think she's mostly awesome.
And I have several black friends. So, anyway.
Next time in 2020.
Well, we're learning. If nobody else is, we're learning. I hope we've made that clear today.
Absolutely.
And
I hope we can read and do our show enough to where we can do this show again. And hopefully this was a great learning experience for the both of us. But what I want to do is definitely at least look at continuations of the books we just talked about today.
And also in the following year, we're going to cover books by a friend of ours.
Yes.
Who is a extremely funny bad writer.
What would you think about talking about Sword of Nimue by Nick?
I think that would be fun too if he's okay with it.
So yeah, we got plans. We definitely got plans.
We got some funny things coming up. And more books to talk about, starting with... now, we mentioned this in the previous episode. It's the Genevieve book, and it is...
Genevieve and her first fuss.
Off-the-wall crazy.
Yeah. Genevieve and her first fuss, the book about dogs, and
Don't give away too much.
It's about dogs, and it'll be one surprise after another.
It definitely will.